Welcome back, everyone. Sheepdog Smokey here, and this from the Hill. Health and Human Services restores legal meaning of sex. What will the U.S. Supreme Court and Congress do? Now, this is something that I've talked about in the past, and it is something that, sadly, I pretty much all but predicted would happen. You see, with the I am whatever I am right now, and if you don't predict all the changes I'm going to make in the next few seconds, you're a horrible racist, sexist bigot movement. And now, at least until this goes into effect, doctors are even being affected. You see, right before Barack Obama left office, the Department of Health and Human Services made a major change to the Affordable Care Act, basically saying that biological sex is the same as gender identity. It's not. As much as Bill Nye, the man with a mechanics degree, would have you believe, there are not unlimited numbers of genders. There are only two biological sexes. You are born physically male or physically female. And there are a lot of differences to that. You see, men are born with a prostate. Women are not. Men are born with testes. Women are not. Women are born with ovaries. Men are not. There are certain things that are medically impossible for a male or female to contract. You see, a female cannot get testicular cancer. A male cannot get ovarian cysts. A biological male who does not have an ovary cannot get pregnant. But reading this, you look at a story from the New England Journal of Medicine. It told the story of a pregnant woman whose labor signs were ignored at a hospital, costing her baby's life. What caused the hospital staff to miss the telltale indications that she was in labor? It's because the patient arrived at the hospital identifying as a man rather than a biological woman. Ultimately, the baby was lost because the medical staff was told this is a man. So they would not assume in any alternate reality that a biological male could be pregnant. They were looking for signs of unexplainable stomach and gastrointestinal cramping. The woman was in labor and ultimately lost the child and blamed the hospital for not thinking that a man could be pregnant. And you see, a biological male cannot be pregnant, just as a biological male cannot get ovarian cysts, just as a biological female cannot get prostate or testicular cancer. And it's very simple. Now, ultimately and unfortunately, this is going to be challenged by liberals to say that forcing them to tell a doctor they are biologically male somehow violates their rights, at least until someone who is biologically male, or someone who is, let's say, another situation like this, a biological female identifying as a man shows up and ends up losing a child, or worse, ends up dying because the medical staff was told this is a male and they are looking for biological symptoms that a male can have to explain a situation. It's just not something that I understand. And I understand the root of it, where it comes from. I just don't understand how it is so widespread. You see, and I go back to this a lot. When I was in high school, none of this was even discussed. Yes, there were transgender people in that time. There were transgender people before I was in high school. But you see, they didn't demand the entire country change everything about everything to cater to them. They simply lived their lives. Now, if you identify as male but are biologically female, the world is supposed to automatically know this and associate any medical condition that you may have that is unique to a biological female to you when you are male and did not tell them. Imagine if a biological male goes in to a hospital with severe stomach cramping, but because they identify as female, they start looking for a baby. They start prepping for delivery, and all of a sudden, up in stirrups, and the doctor's going, oh, wait a minute, You can't be pregnant because he's staring at twig and berries. What's going to happen then? Is the man going to sue because he had a right to be pregnant? Or is he going to sue for misdiagnoses because I identify as a woman, so I was pregnant and they removed my gallbladder, which ultimately was the problem, but they should have said I was pregnant and they aborted my gallbladder. We're on the road to literal insanity. This right here is a very good policy change because it is not in any way, shape, form, or fashion anything other than pure anatomical, physiological, and medical science being restored. You see, the party of climate change, and if you don't believe that mankind is all of a sudden causing this, and we have to take away your cars and take away your cows, and we have to tax you at 90% to pay for all this crap, if you don't support all of that, you're a science denier. But that same party says you were born biologically male, but because you identify as female, you're all of a sudden biologically female now. Anything and everything that you say is true, except when you say climate has changed multiple times over the eons before and after the Industrial Revolution. And Al Gore's prediction from the early 2000s never came true. The polar ice caps are actually larger now than they were in past years. And killing every cow on the planet and getting rid of every car will do nothing. Saying that makes me the most ignorant Cro-Magnon possible. But them saying this person is a woman who happens to have a penis, or this person is a man who happens to be pregnant because he has ovaries, that's praised. I hate that I have to say this, but idiocracy is not going to take another 500 years. It's here. We have presidential candidates communicating in memes, mocking voters when they ask how they'll enforce an unconstitutional plan. We have other people supporting patients being able to sue their doctor because everything on every piece of paperwork said male. I'm a man, I'm a man, I'm a man. But when it's found out they're biologically female and were pregnant and they lose the baby, well, you should have known that because men can get pregnant. Biologically, no, they cannot. And we're not going to get into the Jurassic Park science, which is based in reality that in a society of certain reptiles and amphibians, some of them can spontaneously change biological sex to allow for procreation. Humans cannot do that. You see, the world of predestination doesn't exist. There is no one born with male and female reproductive organs, but only physically female. That doesn't happen. That's a science fiction movie with Ethan Hawke that was horrible. We live in a society, we live in a world where you are born biologically male or female. You are born with male reproductive organs and you produce testosterone in your body, or you are born with female reproductive organs and you produce estrogen in your body. And when you go to a medical professional complaining of symptoms, complaining of an illness or a condition, you do not tell them that you are male if you are not biologically male. It's that simple. Because your doctor, he doesn't need anything at all about your gender identity. He needs to know physically, were you born male or female? Because even if you have physically transitioned, you are still on the inside male. You do not have ovaries. You do not have fallopian tubes. You do not have any of that. So you cannot contract diseases unique to biological females. So your doctor needs to know which biological sex were you born as. And that is so your doctor can provide you the best medical care possible. But I guess medical care specific to biological sex is not a constitutional right. Medical care where your doctor is a psychic wizard who can just snap his fingers and make everything be perfect in your little utopian world to run around with unicorns and fairies, I guess that's the right. Yes, I mock it because it's insane. Identify as whatever you want to identify as. Dress however you wish to dress. If you are a 6'3", bearded, short-haired person with shoulders to make the Rock jealous in a pink tutu and somebody calls you sir, you don't flip out and demand they be arrested and jailed for misgendering you. If you are a biological female who identifies as male and you have stomach cramps, when you go to the hospital, you tell them you are biologically female. That way they know what to look for to save your life as quickly as possible. So, that said, I've talked long enough. Let the hate flow. It's already happened on another video. It's already happened on several threads I'm involved in. And this I don't expect to be any different. For those of you who are going to call me every name in the book, who are going to insist that I be banned from YouTube forever for daring to support the idea that biological sex and gender identity are not the same thing, please go speak to a medical doctor. Go speak to someone who spent many, many years in college studying biology, chemistry, anatomy, physiology, and so much more related to human bodies. I dare you to find one that would actually say gender identity and biological sex are the same thing. Because I can bet I can find you 20 a lot faster that will call that person an idiot. But anyway, let me know what you think. Remember, even though I've said let the hate flow, remember, we don't learn from emotional hate-filled arguments. We learn from debate. So, when the hate flows, I will happily ignore it. When someone actually makes a reasoned argument, I will engage. As always, make sure to like and share to expand the conversation. As well as, please remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you're among the first to know of all new content as it posts. Until next time, everyone have a wonderful day.